Today I fucked up choosing an empty car on a crowded subway. This happened yesterday in NYC. I took the A train uptown from 59th Street as I always do coming home from work. It was relatively busy for a Saturday and there were lots of folks on the platform and already on the train. So, when the car that pulled up closest to me, in the middle of the train, was nearly empty, I was pretty stoked to get a seat. Stepping onto the car, I noticed all of the windows were open, which is weird for a cold January day. Then, as the doors closed behind me, I smelled it. I imagine it would have hit me sooner, but masks delay these things, I guess. The smell was a putrid mix of primarily urine with notes of vomit and a distinct fecal finish. Oh no, I thought. My eyes dart around the car to find the source of this olfactory abomination. The first thing I find is one of the benches has been used. This long seat was defiled. It, and the floor around it, were covered in what was unmistakably bodily, but not immediately specifically identifiable. The smell is making me retch in my mask. I find a seat. I realize that I am now trapped in this car on the long stretch on the express like between 59th and 125th. That's when I notice the man who without a doubt was responsible for the state of the car. He is drunk and unshowered. He is stumbling, dancing, to music only he can hear around the car. Stomping through his own mess and tracking it throughout the car. By some feat of gravity defiance, the man does not fall over when the train lurches to the side. I am not completely alone on the train with this man. There are others who made the mistake of getting on this empty car on a packed train. We were all greedy, foolhardy. 125th approaches. I weigh my options. I can leave this car and run to another. There's a small chance I don't make it to the other car and miss the train. There's a large chance I don't get a seat. The alternative is me quite possibly being alone in this car on my way to Dykeman 200th. The man is now banging on the windows. I decide to risk it. I dart out the door as soon as it opens and one of my fellow passengers has made a similar choice to me. Two people on the platform attempt to get into the car. We tell them they don't want it. We tell them not to. They do not listen. Me and my new compatriot make it onto the next car on the train, now without seats but considerably more comfortable. We laugh when we realize why we've moved cars. We are brothers. 145th Street comes. The two people we told not to go on that cursed car now enter our car. They avoid eye contact with my friend and I. We tried to warn them. They, as greedy as we once were, saw the promise of an empty car on a busy train and took it. But everything in life has its cost, and they realized that empty car was indeed empty for a reason. We all learned something on this day. Too long did not read. Got on a subway car that was empty for a reason. Didn't realize until too late. You did try to warn them. Sorry that happened and sounds utterly disgusting. This happened to me in London. I was late for my train and came running down to the platform mere seconds before the due departure time. I forgot I was in the UK and therefore still had plenty of time. Straight away I saw an empty carriage. I knew it was too good to be true, but couldn't help myself. Sure enough, some poor bastard had lost the battle with a large surge of diarrhea and it covered about a third of the floor. I took a chance and switched carriages. Then watched through the windows as my maneuver was repeated by every other person. Always avoid an empty car. Also be wary if you see several passengers walking between cars to get into yours. Trouble may follow them. Never get on the empty car when the train is otherwise crowded. This is NYC Subway 101. Never enter an empty car when the others are full. There's a reason it's empty. Today I fucked up by driving into my sister's car and planning to stay silent. Today I fucked up by driving into my sister's car and planning to stay silent. So this literally just happened, and I don't know what to do. I 17 female is learning how to drive so I can get my license in 3 months when I turn 18. Just for clarity, I know how to drive and I've been doing so around my neighborhood comfortably with my dad in the driver's seat. Today he decided that I was ready to learn how to park the car. The garage is big enough for 2 cars so my 22 female sisters is on the right. Everything was going okay until for some reason I panicked and stepped on the gas a little too hard and I hit the brakes just in time so I only left a few scratches but they're noticeable. My dad says I should keep quiet until she brings it up. She went out with my mom and they're not back yet. Do I keep this to myself or tell her? Either way I'm scared. Edit, update. When my sister came home told my dad that I was going to say something. He told me that I should leave it alone for some reason, but I told her anyway. She was angry, but not at me. She said I was just learning, so it's okay. She was mad about the scratches. I told my sister that my dad didn't want me to say anything, and she said she was glad I said something in the end because she would have been mad if I kept it from her. Too long did not read. I was learning how to park my car for the first time and I scratched my sister's car. I don't know if I should tell her or not. Tell your sister. Don't hide stuff like this. If it's only a few scratches, it's not a big deal. Lying about it is a big deal. My dad says I should keep quiet until she brings it up. This is wrong. In fact, your dad must be the one to bring it up to your sister and explain everything. It seems your dad is washing his hands off you. Don't stain your sister relationship. Tell her and be honest. Trust issue happens when a person lie and someday your truth becomes questionable. How would you feel if someone did this to your car and not tell? Yeah, the damage done from not telling the truth here is much worse and far-reaching than a simple scratch. It happens, dude. Just be apologetic. And maybe get a little teary beforehand if that's an option. And I would like to think she'd be understanding. She was a learner driver too, once. Definitely tell her and shame on your dad. Always choose to be an honorable person. Today I fucked up by sleeping with my niece. No, I didn't have sex with her, but your reaction to that is why I have a problem. My wife, 39F, has a niece, 19F, who goes to college nearby. She comes by for dinner 1-2x a week and stays the night about half the time. It's usually a last-minute decision. She'll stay if she's tired or if she's had drinks. We have 2 guest bedrooms. One is at the other end of the house from ours. It has its own bath and is nicer. Guests, including the niece, usually stay in there. The second bedroom is next to ours and usually only gets used when the nicer one is already occupied. It also gets used by me frequently when my wife snores. Last night the niece comes by, we have dinner and wine. I go to bed early and they're still chatting. I wake up around 1 a.m. because the wife is snoring. Half asleep, I stumble into the guest room and fall asleep. I wake up about an hour ago and realize my niece is in the bed too. I guess she decided to stay, but why she used this room I don't know, she's never used it before. I quickly exited the room and am now drinking coffee and wondering how I'm going to deal with this. The bed's a king and has one of those isolating mattresses where you aren't supposed to feel movement from someone else. I also sleep pretty calmly, a habit I learned in the military. So she probably never knew I was there, but I feel I need to at least mention it to my wife. This is a place where the cover-up might be worse than the hit. Then again, that might lead to another today I fucked up later. Too long did not read. I unknowingly got into the bed where my niece was sleeping and now I gotta tell my wife. If you explain to your wife exactly as you stated it here, you might be surprised at how much a non-issue it turns out to be. Sleeping next to your niece. Dude, the fact that you're even contemplating telling your wife should mean something. This isn't a matter of your guilty conscience. This is absolutely an I can explain moment, true, but because it is awkward. Trust me, once you tell your wife, you'd be laughing your heads off with the hilarity of the situation. The bed's a king and has one of those isolating mattresses where you aren't supposed to feel movement from someone else. Dude, what's the brand of this mattress? Because I seriously need this one, at least for once in my life I want to experience this feeling. Oh, by the way, just tell your wife everything and you'll be fine. How does one learn how to sleep calmly? What is that learning experience like? It probably won't be as bad as you think it will be. It happened to me when I was younger. Nothing happened at all. He literally stumbled in and fell asleep not even realizing I was on the bed, and I just snuck out of the room and slept in the living room cause it felt weird to knowingly sleep next to him lol. He apologized in the morning when he realized where he had been and his wife admitted that's the room he goes to when they fight, so he must have gone there in the middle of the night lmao.